Hannah and Jake were a loving couple who once had a happy life with their little son, Noah. When Noah was born, he brought joy and light to their family. The early days of parenthood were filled with both excitement and challenges. But they were always happy to see their child's innocent smile, hear his first babbling sounds, and witness each moment of his growth. Hannah would often cradle him in her arms, softly singing lullabies, while Jake loved to play with him, kissing his forehead every morning. Their life seemed complete with their small, warm family. However, everything began to change when Noah turned 3 months old. One morning, Hannah noticed that he was no longer kicking his legs joyfully as he usually did. At first, she thought he was just sleepy or tired. But her worry grew when she realized that Noah was no longer moving his arms and legs as before. He was still awake, still smiling when comforted by his mother. But his limbs had become limp and weak. Hannah and Jake rushed him to the hospital. The days that followed became a long and exhausting journey filled with anxiety. They went from one doctor to another, undergoing a series of tests, scans, and medical examinations. Noah was transferred to a larger medical center with a team of top neurologists. But the final diagnosis shattered their hearts. Noah had a rare form of paralysis, with no clear cause and no definite cure. The news hit Hannah and Jake like a devastating blow. They had hoped it was just a temporary condition, that their son would recover after some treatment. But no, reality was far harsher than they had imagined. Noah might never be able to walk or move like other children. In the days that followed, Hannah nearly collapsed. She couldn't bear to see her son lying motionless in his crib, his bright eyes still sparkling but his tiny body unable to move. She cried every night, holding him close. But there was nothing she could do except whisper words of love. Jake was just as heartbroken, but he tried to be the pillar of strength for his wife and child. Every day, he scoured the internet, reading every medical document he could find about Noah's condition, reaching out to doctors across the world in a desperate hope of finding a treatment. However, all the information led to the same grim reality: Noah's condition was too rare, with little research available, and the current treatments were only supportive. This left them not only devastated but also lost, as no one could predict what the future held for their son. Despite everything, their love for Noah never wavered. Each day, they learned how to care for him under these unique circumstances, searching for physical therapy exercises that could help maintain his muscles, and most importantly, ensuring that he always felt their unconditional love. They knew that no matter what happened, Noah would always be the light of their lives, and they would never stop fighting for him. Seeing how heartbroken her younger sister and brother-in-law were, Hannah's older sister decided to gift them a golden retriever puppy named Charlie, hoping to bring them some joy. At first, Hannah and Jake were skeptical, unsure how a dog could help in such a difficult situation. They accepted Charlie with doubt, not convinced that the little pup's presence would change anything in their harsh reality. From the very first day he arrived, Charlie showed a special bond with Noah. Unlike most puppies that are usually playful and curious about their surroundings, Charlie was immediately drawn to Noah. The little dog ran straight to the baby's crib, lying next to it as if sensing something special about him. From that moment on, Charlie never left Noah's side. Every morning, when Hannah and Jake woke up, they found Charlie already lying beside Noah's crib, his round eyes gazing at the baby as if he were guarding him. When Noah made his faint babbling sounds, Charlie would gently wag his tail and occasionally rest his head on the baby's tiny hand, as if showing his companionship. These small gestures not only surprised Hannah and Jake but also brought them a sense of comfort, making them feel that they were not alone in this journey. Charlie was more than just a dog, he seemed to have an extraordinary intuition about Noah. Whenever Hannah picked up Noah to soothe him, Charlie would jump onto the bed, gently resting his head on her leg as if he wanted to be part of comforting the baby. When Noah had unexplained bouts of crying, Charlie would patiently sit beside him, sometimes licking his tiny hand as if to reassure him. Charlie's presence didn't just help Noah, it brought a significant change in Hannah and Jake as well. At first, they only saw themselves as caretakers of a puppy. But gradually, they realized that Charlie was pulling them out of the darkness of their sorrow. When they looked at Noah lying motionless in his crib, they no longer sank into despair because Charlie was always there beside him. Whenever they felt overwhelmed, just seeing Charlie wag his tail and show affection toward Noah gave them renewed strength to keep going. Before long, Charlie became an irreplaceable part of their family. Hannah started feeling more comfortable opening up to Charlie, confiding in the little pup about her worries that she couldn't share with anyone else. Jake also spent time playing with Charlie. And for the first time in months, he started smiling again. It was Charlie who helped them find a sense of peace again, even if just little by little. Over time, Charlie's actions made the family start believing that perhaps this dog hadn't entered their lives by mere coincidence. There were nights when Hannah would wake up suddenly and find Charlie still lying beside Noah's crib. His ears perked up in alertness. Whenever Noah showed any unusual symptoms, Charlie was always the first to notice, letting out a soft bark as if to warn them. This prompted Jake to research the role of dogs in assisting individuals with special needs. He read about therapy dogs, animals capable of sensing human emotions and providing comfort to those suffering from chronic illnesses. For the first time, he felt a spark of hope. Perhaps Charlie was not just a companion but could also help Noah in some way. One day, Hannah and Jake decided to try something new. They placed a lightweight toy in Noah's hand and let Charlie gently nudge the baby's fingers. Something unexpected happened. Noah seemed to attempt to move his fingers slightly, a reaction they had rarely seen since he lost his motor functions. Though it was only a small movement, for Hannah and Jake, it was a sign of hope. From that day on, Charlie and Noah became inseparable. The little dog never left the baby alone. And each time Noah showed even the slightest response, Hannah and Jake felt their hearts warm with gratitude. Though the future remained uncertain, thanks to Charlie, they had found a new light in their lives. One night, like so many others, Hannah and Jake sat quietly in the living room, feeling exhausted and hopeless. Everything seemed too overwhelming to bear. Though they had tried to stay strong all this time, the worries and helplessness weighed heavily on their minds. They loved Noah more than anything in the world. But the thought of their little boy remaining motionless forever broke their hearts a little more each day. Meanwhile, Charlie, their loyal dog, was acting strangely. He seemed restless, pacing back and forth between the living room door and Noah's crib. At first, Hannah and Jake didn't pay much attention. They were used to Charlie's attachment to Noah. But this time, something felt different. Charlie refused to lie down as he usually did. His eyes filled with urgency. Suddenly, Charlie ran to the door of Noah's room and began scratching at it, letting out a soft but insistent bark. This had never happened before. Charlie was always a well-behaved dog, rarely making noise, especially at night. His barks were quiet but urgent, as if he was trying to alert them to something important. Hannah and Jake exchanged a worried glance, a sense of unease creeping into their hearts. Without hesitation, They rushed to Noah's room. The sight before them made them freeze. Noah, who rarely showed any clear reactions, was slightly moving his fingers. His eyes were wider than usual. His breathing rapid. In what felt like an endless moment, Hannah rushed to her son's side, grasping his tiny hand, feeling the subtle movements she had never felt before. Her heart pounded in her chest, tears streaming down her face as she looked at Jake, who was equally overwhelmed with shock and emotion. "Jake, do you see this? He's trying to move," she choked out. Jake, his hands trembling, nodded, feeling a flicker of hope he hadn't dared to hold on to for so long. Charlie remained by their side, his round eyes fixed on Noah, his tail wagging slightly as if he knew that something miraculous was happening. Hannah and Jake realized that if it weren't for Charlie's warning, they might have missed this precious moment. It was just a small movement, but to them, it was a ray of light in the darkness. They quickly called the doctor to report Noah's unexpected change. When the doctor arrived, he carefully examined the baby, his expression filled with surprise. "This is a good sign," he said, his voice carrying a hint of optimism. "We can't predict anything for certain yet, but the fact that Noah is showing this response is promising. Keep monitoring him and continue the supportive therapies." Hannah held Noah tightly, feeling the faint but steady heartbeat of her little boy. Jake gently patted Charlie's head in gratitude. They knew now that Charlie was more than just a dog, he was a companion. A silent guardian who had helped them see hope even when they were on the verge of giving up. That night, Hannah and Jake no longer felt despair. They knew the road ahead would still be filled with challenges. But they also knew they weren't alone. With Noah, with Charlie, and with love and hope, they would keep fighting. Charlie lay beside Noah's crib, his eyes filled with care and unwavering loyalty. The little dog gently touched the baby's hand with his warm nose. And then, a miracle happened. Noah's tiny fingers twitched. A small but deeply meaningful movement. It was the first time in months that he had shown such a clear response. Hannah burst into tears, a mix of shock and overwhelming joy. She grasped her son's tiny hand, feeling every weak but hopeful movement. Jake stood beside her, almost unable to believe what he was seeing. What the doctors once deemed impossible was unfolding right before their eyes. Every time Charlie nudged against Noah, the baby responded just a little, sometimes a slight movement of a finger. Other times a faint twitch of his foot. It was as if there was an invisible connection between the two. A bond no one could explain. Jake looked at Hannah, his eyes shining with a newfound hope he hadn't allowed himself to feel for so long. "Hannah, do you see this? Noah is responding," he whispered, his voice trembling with emotion. Hannah nodded, still holding Noah's hand tightly. "We have to keep going," she said, determination filling her voice. "Charlie is helping Noah, and we can't give up." The next day, they immediately contacted Noah's doctor to report what had happened. When the doctor arrived to examine him, he carefully observed Noah's small movements and then glanced at Charlie, who lay patiently beside him. After a thorough checkup, the doctor smiled slightly. "This is a very positive sign. It's possible that Charlie is stimulating Noah's reflexes in some way," he said. "I think we should continue monitoring this and try implementing additional stimulation techniques." Encouraged by this news, Hannah and Jake felt a renewed sense of determination. They began experimenting by allowing Charlie to interact with Noah more frequently. They gently placed Charlie beside Noah whenever he slept, letting the dog continue touching the baby's hands and feet. Slowly, Noah's responses became more noticeable. Some mornings, when Charlie approached and nuzzled Noah's hand, the baby not only moved his fingers but also let out small sounds, as if trying to respond. Every time this happened, Hannah and Jake felt their hearts fill with hope. The doctors, too, began taking notice of Noah's progress. A rehabilitation specialist was invited to evaluate his condition. After observing Noah and Charlie for several days, the specialist proposed an interesting theory. It's possible that the continuous physical contact with Charlie is stimulating Noah's nervous system. The small reactions we're seeing could be signs of slow but encouraging recovery, he explained. Hannah and Jake felt a weight lift off their shoulders. They knew the road ahead would still be tough. But at least now, they had a glimmer of hope. In the weeks that followed, they continued encouraging Noah to interact with Charlie. Every day, they set aside time for Charlie to stay beside Noah, using soft toys to stimulate his reflexes. And little by little, more miracles began to happen. One day, as Jake was recording a video to capture these precious moments, they witnessed something more significant than ever. Noah lifted his arms slightly, as if trying to reach for Charlie. Hannah covered her mouth to stifle her sobs, while Jake nearly dropped his phone in shock. "Noah is trying to touch Charlie," Hannah exclaimed. Jake knelt down, his eyes filled with amazement and joy. "You're doing so well, Noah. Keep going, son." Charlie remained by Noah's side, his eyes full of love and understanding. It was as if he knew he was playing an important role in his little friend's journey. News of Noah's progress spread throughout their small community. Neighbors, friends, and family came to visit, offering words of encouragement and sharing in their joy. Everyone called Charlie Noah's little angel, and no one doubted the special connection between the two. Though Noah still had a long road ahead, the most important thing was that his family had found hope again. They no longer felt alone in this battle, because they had Charlie, a little dog with a big heart, who had brought a miracle into their lives when they needed it most. And from that moment on, they realized that miracles weren't always grand, unattainable events. Sometimes, a miracle was as simple as a gentle touch, a loving lick on the hand, and a loyal heart that never left the ones it loved. The following weeks brought miraculous changes that no one could have predicted. From the small initial movements, Noah began making remarkable progress. He gradually gained the ability to lift his fingers intentionally and grasp the soft toys that Hannah and Jake placed in his hands. At first, the movements were weak. But day by day, Noah's improvement left everyone astonished. Charlie remained by his side, never leaving him for even a moment. Every time Noah succeeded in making a new movement, the little dog wagged his tail excitedly, as if he understood that his friend was slowly recovering. Jake began recording these precious moments, capturing every small but hopeful step of their son's journey. Before long, Noah not only grasped objects but also managed to move his foot slightly. It was a day Hannah would never forget. She was sitting by Noah's crib, gently holding his hand when suddenly, she felt a slight pressure from his tiny fingers. Moments later, his foot twitched, covering her face. Tears streamed down as she cried out in joy. "Noah! You did it," she exclaimed, calling Jake into the room. Jake rushed in, and together they witnessed the moment they had longed for. Noah was beginning to move his legs. They looked at each other, realizing that this was not just some random miracle. It was the result of love, perseverance, and above all, the extraordinary bond between Noah and Charlie. News of Noah's incredible recovery spread quickly. The doctors following his case could hardly believe what they were seeing. "This is an extremely rare case," one doctor remarked. "We did not expect to witness this kind of recovery. But love and connection may have played a crucial role." Hannah and Jake knew that not everything could be explained by science. To them, Noah had regained his strength not only through medicine but also because of Charlie, the four-legged friend who never left his side. They decided to share their story with the world, hoping to inspire and bring hope to other families facing similar challenges. The media quickly took notice of Noah and Charlie's story. An article about their special friendship was published and soon gained widespread attention. People from all over sent messages of encouragement, sharing similar stories of how their pets had changed their lives. A local television program even invited the family to share their emotional journey. But for Hannah and Jake, fame and media attention were not what mattered most. The most important thing was that Noah had found hope and strength to keep going. Every day, he continued his exercises, continued interacting with Charlie, and continued proving that miracles do exist. On a bright, sunny morning, Hannah opened the window to let the sunlight fill Noah's room. She watched as her son held on to Charlie's small paw, his eyes sparkling with joy. Turning to Jake, she smiled. "We've been through so much. But looking at Noah now, I know that every moment was worth it." Jake nodded, gently wrapping an arm around her shoulders. "Yes. Sometimes miracles don't come from science or something grand. Miracles can simply be love, perseverance, and believing in the goodness of life." The story of Noah, Charlie, Hannah, and Jake was not just about recovery, it was a testament to the power of love and the deep connection between humans and animals. And most importantly, it reminded everyone that even in the darkest moments, hope always remains.